Hello and welcome to Blake McKinnon Productions. My name is Blake McKinnon. So this week I've only done about 4 days of work on Dead County because I spent the other 3 days working on an animated horror short film to release on Halloween. So check back here in a couple of days for that because I'll be releasing it on my YouTube channel. Now it might not look like I've made a huge amount of progress since last week's devlog, but I've made a heap of new changes and implemented a lot of new stuff. So let's get into it. The most notable addition would be that I've retextured the player and all the zombies. Making these textures took me much longer than I thought it would. All up it took me about a day and a half to create the 5 new textures. This is a process that I'm still getting used to, but I'm gradually getting more accustomed to it, and I'm slowly getting quicker. The brief overview of the workflow is that I open up the model in Blender, switch to texture paint mode and paint the clothes on using my Wacom tablet, which takes quite a while. I then open the texture up in GIMP to pixelate it, giving it that PS1 look. And then I re-import the texture back into Blender to cover up any seams that appear on the model. The player's texture took me almost 4 hours to make, as it was the first one I've created in months. I suppose that it took me so long because I was having to learn how to do it all again, but each one seemed to get completed quicker than the last. The most recent one was done in just over an hour. I've programmed the rest of the things that I needed to do to start making the actual game, as well as fixed a couple of lingering issues and bugs. The enemy's AI has been cleaned up and improved. They now react much better and do so in about half the amount of code than they originally did. The enemy AI script for my previous games had become a big mess. It contained a lot of unused and messy code, so I'm glad to have that cleaned up now. There will obviously be more programming to do once I start building out the other maps, but the initial code mechanics and systems are all now in place. Game feel is another thing that was much improved upon this week. There was little in the way of impact when shooting or taking damage. I added in screen shake, beefed up the blood and wall hit effects, changed a lot of sound effects, and replaced the enemy death animations with ragdolls. Guns now feel like they have impact when being shot, which was something that was severely missing. The one change that I didn't want to have to make was replacing the death animations with ragdolls. I've used ragdolls for all of my previous games and wanted to use animations in this game to try something different, and because they were used in the old Resident Evil games. But I was having a big problem with these animations clipping through walls and other objects, so I decided that it would be best to just replace them. This is also the first game that I've made that uses TextMesh Pro instead of Unity's default text. I tried TextMesh Pro a while ago and for some reason wasn't able to get it to work. I don't know why, because it was really easy. Unity's text is notorious for being of a low resolution, and although it looked fine in most of my previous games, probably because they're of a low quality as well, am I right? It was time for me to learn to use TextMesh Pro. So now the game has nice crisp text. All of the existing UI text was replaced and I created a new pause menu, which is pretty basic but I think it looks decent enough. And while we're on the subject of UI, I've completely redone all of the inventory UI. The inventory that I showed in the previous devlog was just temporary, so it obviously had to be changed. I looked at a few inventories from some late 90s games for inspiration and managed to settle on a design that I'm pretty happy with. It's simple but functional and easy to navigate. Everything that was needed to start building the levels is, I think, now complete. I'm hoping that the map creation won't take me too long, as I didn't want to have to spend too much time making this game. But considering how long building maps took me in Bloodbreed, it might take me longer than I'm expecting it to. My primary source of inspiration for the level design at the moment is Resident Evil 4, because it has that rural town look that I'm going for. It's just that mine will be far more simplified and will have more of a PlayStation 1 aesthetic. Well then, that just about catches you up on everything for this week. It'll probably be 2 weeks before I release another devlog on the development of Dead County, because next week's video will be covering the creation of my animated horror short film for Halloween called Dream Cell, which will be coming out in a few days. The short film, not the video on how I made it. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. I should have a few levels completed for Dead County by the time the next devlog comes out, and by that stage it shouldn't be too far from release. If you've liked this video, be sure to give it a like, unless you didn't like it, in which case give it a dislike if you're that much of an and I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel, because I only have like 55 subscribers at the moment. As always, my name is Blake McKinnon, thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.